Okay, good morning lads, how are you? I just want to, I suppose, go through a drawing for today. Maybe a recorded version of this might be better because I know one or two of you are dropping in and dropping out loads with your internet connection. So again, I'm just going to try it this way for today. If it doesn't work, let me know. But maybe, like I said, the good thing is you can go back and press pause and you can just double check things in your own time rather than waiting for me to draw. Or maybe I'm going too fast or too slow. So you can kind of edit the film the way you want it to go yourself. I'm just going to show you what today's, I'm going to show you what today's question is now. I've got a question in a book and it's fairly, this one here, it's actually complicated enough. You can look in, you can see all the different measurements are there. I'll put up that in the team in a few seconds. I'll put up that image with all the measurements on it for you. But that's our question for today. Now, that's a very, there's a lot of detail in that. There's a lot of measurements in it. Again, you've got elevation, end elevation, and plan, and you've got overall size and widths and all that sort of stuff. But I just want to go back from the technical side of it for a second. And the first thing I'll always do is, no matter how hard or how easy I think this question is, I'll always just try and get a picture of it first. I try and understand it as much as I can before I go drawing properly. So what I've done is, I've just drawn a quick sketch. Now, I'm not asking you to draw the sketch. I've just drawn the sketch to help you get across the point. But that's what the object, it's the same object, okay? It's more or less the same object. I've made a bit of a mistake. I suppose I was supposed to draw in a little gap to come out the front of it as well. I've missed that. But you can see it that that's the object that we're trying to get drawn today. So I have to add in our little mistake there. But you can see that I've added in some colors and some patterns. I suppose it'll help me get across the point in a second. So anytime I get a question like this, now this one doesn't have all the measurements. You'd see all those in the team in a photograph. But I'm trying to figure out what this solution will look like. Now, I'm not asking again for how to draw this. I'm just worrying about getting you guys to picture or to visualize it. So if I'm looking for the elevation and plan end view, well, I've always started these questions with drawing a ground line. Okay, draw my ground line, and I call that XY because that's where the front elevate or the front plane meets the horizontal plane, and I'll talk more about that maybe another day. But our elevation will go up in this space up here. So our elevation will go sitting down on top of that ground line, and like I said before, so we're getting your scale, your height relation to your width pretty alright. So that's kind of rough. I'm saying a rough outline of what the elevation will look like. I always leave a space between the elevation and plan. And if you remember from Monday's class, we draw our end elevation like this. We draw a 45-degree line down. And then we're projecting all that up. I'm hoping I'll go back over that in more detail now when we're talking about the question set. But there, that's the layout in terms of that's the overall height of the block, the overall length of the block. That would be the overall width of the block, and again the overall length. So these are all matched up. And you've got the space here matches the space here. Just to get across what the elevation properly looks like, and I'm hoping that you've got this figured out, that our elevation would be a simple enough L shape. Yeah, that's what our elevation would probably look like. If I go back here, again, you'll see it. That's what our elevation looks like. And the plan looking down from above, well, okay, let's start. What patterns do you see? Well, you should only see the sloped lines that I've drawn in pink. That's the only surface you'll see in the elevation. All right. You don't see the orange or the blue or the green. You see none of those. I'm talking about the front elevation. When I want to draw with the plan, I can just project lines straight down the page. So they're all vertical lines, and I'll talk about it in a second when I'm drawing properly. But there is our elevation, there's our plan. And I'm asking you asking for you guys to picture what are the colors, what are the patterns that are appearing on each of these blocks now. you know. So hopefully you can see that there. And if I zoom back out, it might be a bit better for us to see. To focus the camera a little bit. And let's not forget, I forgot it again. We've got these two little parts in here as well. So that's actually what it should look like. So the patterns we see, well, we're going to see the blue grid on those front parts. We're going to see, and I don't know can the colors appear very well in my video, but we're going to see the orange grid on this top surface. Next, we're going to see those green circles, those green dots. I'm not going to go mad, just going to get across a few of them so we can understand what it is. And then the last thing I've got are those purple X's. Okay, so it's about just matching up. Now, maybe I'm overcomplicating it. Maybe the patterns make it more confusing. I don't know. Sometimes guys really appreciate the patterns. It depends on how you look at things. And the end elevation, again, is going to be a full size of a rectangle. I am going to project across some of these horizontal lines here. Okay, and let's not forget I have to bring across those two steps. So this is what our end elevation will look like. Yeah, that's tricky enough to picture now, but that's how it looks like. I'm going to go with these broken lines. Yeah, and that's it. That's all we'll see for the end elevation. Now, it's great to have that bit of, you mightn't have to go into that detail every time, but I'm hoping that you have a picture of what you're trying to draw before you start drawing. It's about visualizing, it's about getting ready for what's to come. This isn't the drawing done now. This is just me, guys, helping you to set up what your you know, what your drawings might look like. Okay, so it's an important little step for us to do. Okay, I'm just going to move on to, so what would this look like for you guys drawing? Okay, what would this look like for you guys drawing? So you would probably have to have your question open and ready to go. So I'm going to put in this question, and all the measurements and so on will be there on the book. That'll be there into the team when I get it loaded up. But I'm trying to draw in, I suppose, a technical version of this drawing here. So I'm going now with my set squares, my T-squares this time. Okay, going on to the side of my page, and that's a horizontal line there. So it's a little bit gone off here in the screen, it looks like, but it is correct. So I'm going to draw an XY line or a ground line. I'm going to measure down from the top of the page. I'm going to measure down 120 millimeters from the top of the page. And I'm going to draw a horizontal line. And that's going to be my ground line or my XY line. If you want, you can measure in from the left-hand side. You can measure in from the left-hand side, oh, I don't know, you can measure in 100 millimeters, but I'm just going to measure in, you can measure in 100 millimeters to this point here if you want, but I've got a bit of space on my sheet. But I'm going to call that point A. So it's down 120, in 100 to point A, but look, it might look a bit different on my sheet. And if I just go back to the question that I'm talking about, there is point A. Yeah, and I've just drawn point A here in the sketch a few seconds ago. Sorry, I've drawn point A here. And if you go back to Monday's class, it should make sense that that's point A there. And it should also make sense that that's point A there. All right, I hope that's what you think. So our elevation is first. The overall height of the elevation, and again you need to go to the book just to double check sizes for me. But the length of it is 125 millimeters. So 125 millimeters long. And from that A and point B, I'm going to call that point B, I'm going to measure up 2 vertical lines. Sorry, I've tried it right. And again, these are construction lines, and I'm going to use those construction lines up and down the whole page. So just keep that going further down because you will need it for the plan in a few seconds. And the same has to happen with A. Up and down the page from top to bottom. So this is the work I'm asking you to do now in the class, okay? The technical drawing is really the work I'm looking for. I'm asking that the overall height of the elevation is 75 millimeters. So from point B, I can measure up 75. Okay, from point B, I can measure 75. And that's the box that I drew at the start. That's the box where the elevation should fit into. All right, so the elevation would fit inside in that rectangle. Yeah, like I've drawn down here, and you've got to add in these details in a few seconds, but that's our start point for the elevation. I'm going to leave a space. Today I'm going to leave a space of just 10 millimeters between the elevation and plan. So again, this is just a blank space inside in here. Blank space inside here, nothing drawn there. And I draw my horizontal line. And you'll see in the question that the width of the plan is another 75 millimeters, okay? You'll see that in the question book in a few minutes. So again, that's a horizontal line. So again, I'll never ask you guys to put in the measurements on your sheet. You know, maybe I might, but don't do it unless I've asked. So the overall length of this is 125, and the overall height of this is 75 millimeters. I've left a space here of 10 millimeters, and the width of the plan is 75 as well. Okay, the width of the plan is 75 as well. From point B, from that corner point of the elevation, I hope this again is something we've done from Monday. I hope it makes sense today. I'm going to draw that as a heavy line again, just for one last time. It's a 45-degree line from that corner point. And that will help me to draw the end elevation. So I project my plan across to hit. I project my plan across to hit it. And then from both of those points I've just found, I'm going to draw my vertical lines, and that will locate the end elevation for me. Okay. All right, hope that's okay. And just to find out the overall height of the end elevation, I can transfer that straight across from the elevation itself. So now, I shouldn't have to add in any measurements here. I'm just transferring widths across from the plan and up, and I'm transferring heights across from the elevation. So already going back to this is a sketch of what our finished solution will look like. But already you can see we've got the layout of a drawing. Okay. Now, that's it set up. I'm going to trust that you guys are able, and I'm going to, I suppose, go out in a bit of a chance here. I'm going to trust that you're able to finish the drawing based on the setup that I've given you. The key thing for today's class is, number one, that you picture, that you can visualize what a solution looks like. And the second thing is that you guys get the setting up of an elevation plan end view, that you get the setting up of it correct. You go the overall height, overall width, and the elevation. Then you leave a space, you go to your plan, your 45-degree line, and you set up your end elevation. So they're the two things: visualizing your solution and setting up your elevation plan end view. I'm going to expect that the drawing, the actual measured drawing, matches up with the sketch that I've drawn here, and I'm going to ask you to add that in as an assignment for next Monday. It shouldn't be too hard. In the assignment, I'm going to have all the measurements as part of that as well, and I'll also put up a finished version of it. Well, I won't put up my finished version. That'll be cheating. That'll be giving you the answer before you start. All right, now lads, if you've got problems, message me directly and I'll get back to you. Like I say, sometimes for some reason Harry Stokes and Kelsey and one or two others are having trouble staying in the meetings with their Wi-Fi. So I'm hoping this is going to help you. Okay. Lads, that's it. Best of luck.